All right, I'm going to pimp a couple of projects. Haven't been that busy because last year was the 40th anniversary of the OG Nightmare on Elm Street. So I saw a lot of fans on the road, and you know, all those jobs were sort of contractually cemented in concrete. So I had to turn down some movies, but it was wonderful to sort of travel the world and see all the fans of the original films. And we had most of the cast with us too. Not Johnny Depp, but just about everybody else. And it was a fun year. You know. Now I'm pimping the 4K collection of Nightmare on Elm Street. And I'll tell you why. I would be dishonest if I said I've seen one. But I realized after years of meeting fans that so many of them experienced the films, you know, on VHS back in the day. You know, from a mom and pop video store or from Blockbuster or somewhere. You know, mom and dad would get a copy of Pretty Women, and the kids would go down the horror aisle and pick up one of the franchise episodes of Nightmare on Elm Street and scare the bejesus out of mom and dad. But you guys saw it at home on those VHSs or the ones where kid passed away. They're going rats. The age of 7 on the Rock Show. So I loved my horror, and then later on I fell in love with the Hammer, the saturated color of the early Hammer films, which you guys all grew up with. And Barbara Steele, and you know, I love Peter Cushing, oh my God, and Christopher Lee. Eventually I became a friend of Christopher Lee's. But, you know, I remember I watched the sci-fi film, Them, from the early 50s with the giant ants, beautifully shot, black and white, great sound. And the problem was, Freddy can't die. And I was resurrected by dog yoga. Remember? It was a bird organ. And if you can pee on me and make me come alive, you know, it's going to be easy to bring me back. I feel that Jason won the fight, but now Jason has to sleep at some point. And now that he's become Freddy, he'll bring that he can bring Freddy, and Freddy can kill Jason in his dreams. So that's how I think progress should be. Unfortunately, we got sidetracked with a great concept, kind of metal horror that we almost made. Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. And it would be Bruce Campbell. There was a comic book out about it. Sam Raimi wanted to direct it, but Sam Raimi's idea was that Ash would win. And New Line didn't like that idea. They thought, oh no, we can't have Freddy get his ass kicked twice in a row. And again, what I said to everybody was, hey, you brought me back to dog piss. This is a big problem. But I had this fantasy for the poster of Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. And it would be Bruce Campbell with his shirt open and a fan on him like Beyonce. And he'd have, in this arm, he'd have Jason in a headlock. And in this arm, he'd have Freddy in a headlock. And his abs would be spray painted like the 300. All those guys that saw me in the 300 that had that, airbrush ab. Muscle thing going. And the fan would be on him and it would say, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, keeping the world safe from sequels. And I think we left some money on the table. I think it was unfortunate we didn't do that. There was rights problems with the radio estate and with Blue Line Cinema and the Time Warner, and also the people that own, the Bruce Campbell's people. And the evil people, so that I think they just couldn't come to an agreement, and I think it's unfortunate, because I think it would have been a real fan favorite. And we know the success now of Deadpool and other, being the other comedy horror, deconstructed Guardians of the Galaxy, how successful and wonderful and fun those films can be. And I think this could have been a kind of hybrid, and it's unfortunate that we didn't do it. Sometimes Robert Shea, the head of New Line Cinema, would come by, but we were perfecting the makeup, and David had these horrible books, giant medical books of pictures of burn victims in them, and I couldn't even look at the pictures, and we were always perfecting the makeup, and narrowing down the things we wanted to do in these sessions, and on one of them, David had left one of the glue brushes out for a long time, and he came back to touch up the labial fold right here where they hide one of the prosthetic pieces in this labial fold on the face. And he poked me really hard there, and I went, damn it, David! And I wasn't trying to make a voice, it was just on his little voice, but I saw, damn it, David, with Freddy in the mirror. And that sound kind of went with the voice, with the face. And that's where I found the voice. And then about 2 or 3 days on the set, and I hadn't been on film much, I'm wearing that glove 12, 14 hours a day. And it's heavy. It was heavier than it is now. And I'd start the day like this, as Freddy, or like this as Freddy. And after about a couple hours, I'd be like this, because of the glove, the weight of the glove. And I would walk by a mirror, and there in the mirror, I noticed that this was the posture. And I kind of liked it, the posture of Freddy. And I said to myself, what does that remind me of in my mind? It looked like a gunfight, a gunslinger, a western. So I just had to have that image in my head. So that image in my head gave birth to the posture, the go-to posture for Freddy. And I didn't have to act it. That would be my image. I would just think, okay, I'm going to walk down this hall, just going to win something. That's the trick. That's the shortcut that actors use sometimes. And then to really legitimately command the beautiful Heather Langenkamp and the beautiful Johnny Depp and everybody, I was sitting in the makeup chair getting touched up at 12 in the afternoon. I've been on the set since 5 in the morning. And it was a hot summer day in Hollywood, and in Heather and Johnny Depp, and they're arguably two of the most beautiful human in the world at that time. And the makeup girl, she wasn't special effects. She was part of the regular makeup department. She gave them gifts, little tiny battery-operated pink fans.
So I just got back from my first Horrified. It was a pretty fun experience. What I will say is I couldn't get Robert Englund's autograph. It was a bit of a tricky situation. I will admit, I think if you are going to these Comic-Cons, a little tip from me, from someone who's only been to a handful of them, but has only now just tried to sort of like get a big star's autograph. If there's diamond passes available for them, get them. You'll get priority. It will be so much easier. That's all I can say, because it was all diamond pass people again today. And yeah. So aside from that, it was a really fun day. I even got someone asking me if they could take a photo with me, because I was in my first cosplay outfit. So I have worn costumes before, but they've been sort of like Halloween costumes, things I've not really worn out. But I did my first cosplay, so I'm going to show you guys now what that is. Okay, so I did my first cosplay, like I said, and I did Nancy. Ignore the buttons, this is just the trousers I had to get. But I did get the trainers as well, but I took them off. But I did Nancy, because obviously Robert Englund and Nightmare on Elm Street. But yes, she was like, the girl was like, Nancy? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, this is my first time wearing a cosplay out and about. And she asked if she could take a photo with me, and I absolutely loved her. That was absolutely amazing. But yeah, so that was a fun experience. But no, overall, I think I had a really good day. It was nice to go with Evander and his family. I'm not sure what the next con I'm going to is, but expect more vlogs of it. Any future Comic-Cons I will be going to. I do plan to cosplay more, so expect more of those. But yes, I really hope you enjoyed this very short vlog. I'm not used to vlogging in public yet, not fully. Norwich is a starting point, but places like Comic-Cons and that, it's going to take me a bit of time. But I also really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then do give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, then go ahead, hit that subscribe button and also notification bell down below to be notified when I post. And leave me your comments and thoughts on Horrified. Did you go? Did you not go? What Comic-Con are you looking forward to going to this year? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!